Sahana bhavatu sahano bhunaktu saha viryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The belief is that people who live a life of sacrifice, of renunciation, are great people. But this is a very strange paradox of life, that those who are people of renunciation, those who are people of sacrifice, have given up something useless for something useful. So actually the greatest renunciates are those who have not done this. The greatest sacrifice is done by people who have not taken the higher. They have sacrificed their entire happiness, their entire well-being for nothing at all. So isn't that strange? Isn't that really strange? That's what this last story we studied is drawing to our attention. Who is the greater renunciate? the sage, or the prince? Who has given up more? Is the person who has given up a person who has given up the world, has he given up more? Or is the person who has given up God, has he given up more? Isn't that something for us to think about? Who has sacrificed more? And so we started last time the personality chart to understand what it is in our life that we are doing incorrect, that we are doing wrong. We can use this personality chart to understand all of life, because the concept of the three gunas and how they operate in our personality is really extremely interesting. You've already studied this in chapter 18 and 17 and 16 and 14. So I hope this portion will go easy for you. But it's a good revision of these things if you haven't still figured them out. Already attended this section in the Gita. Can you give me a thumbs up, all those who attended it already in the Gita, so that I know how many are doing it for the second time? Oh, not so many. Okay. What happens? Some who I know for certain have already attended it are not giving me thumbs up. So I don't know what is happening. You're like,
I'm sorry.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I don't know how to. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
All right. So, okay, no problem. I just needed to know so that, in these classes, one of the biggest problems is I don't know what is sounding repetitive and what is sounding not explained enough. So, this is always a little bit of an issue over here. So, let's do the personality chart. It's amongst the more interesting portions because suddenly all of life starts becoming clear. The personality chart is based on the three gunas: tamas, the lowest guna; rajas, let's call it B category; and sattva, which is A category. So there are three levels of thoughts in our that we have. Human beings have three levels of thought. The highest level, the best level, is sattva, that's A, and then B is rajas, and the lowest is tamas. Tamas is a state of indolence, ignorance, inertia. I'm repeating that so that it's clear. Indolence, ignorance, inertia. Indolence means you don't feel like doing anything, lazy. Ignorance means I don't know. So we are all in deep tamas when it comes to the self because we don't know it. Right? So ignorance. That is why it's likened. The color of tamas is black, darkness. So it's called a darkness of ignorance, referring to tamas. And you also notice that this concept of darkness related to ignorance and lower ways of functioning is not restricted to India. Across the world, you find this. Even the witches. Remember, what is the color a witch wears? In mythology, of course, there are no real witches. But what's the color the witch wears? Isn't it
Black.
all their black hats and their brooms and their black crowns? These are all pictorial ways of showing the state of tamas, which is the state of ignorance. And all our negativity, deep rooted negativity, comes only from ignorance. So the wise sages don't even use the word ignorance, they often use the word, which is the word that's very commonly used instead of ignorance?
Children.
Sorry?
Children. Balaha.
Yeah, bala, correct. But another word instead of ignorance? Same
Innocence.
concept. Your concept is right.
Innocence.
Delusion. No.
What did you say?
Innocence.
Yes, Tejal, correct. Innocence. In absolute innocence, we're doing what we're doing. If we had knowledge, would we give up God for the world? Absolute innocence, what we are doing. Would we give up happiness for unhappiness? Would you give up wealth for poverty? Would you give up love for attachment? You would never do. So when we do it, it is tamas, it is ignorance, it is innocence. So this ignorance, the darkness of ignorance in which we live, gives rise then. Okay, so what is it? Indolence, we don't want to do anything. Ignorance, we don't want to know the higher. And inertia. Inertia means, inertia is defined as when an object continues in a state of rest or motion unless acted upon by another force. An object continues in the state of rest or motion unless acted upon by another force. Another force. Something has to make us do things. That's enough. You won't do it on our own. So, Bill Gates. If I ask you what is the guna of Bill Gates, most of you may be tempted to say rajas. But just think about it. It may well be tamas. Why would he come under tamas? Because if he was doing the same thing, just continuing doing the same thing over and over again, even if he's the world's richest man, but he's doing the same thing, he's becoming richer, he's doing the same thing. There's nothing, no further effort applied. Then this will be tamas because it is inertia. So a lot of our activities, even when we are running around, could well be tamas because we are continuing in inertia. So some people are very busy, very busy. I have no time for this and I have no time for that. Could well be inertia. Because continuing the same thing, have you thought about it? Have you applied yourself ever again? Just continuing the same thing, whatever you're doing. So those who are pursuing money are pursuing money. Those who are pursuing knowledge are pursuing knowledge. Those who are pursuing whatever they're doing is continuing the same. There is no thought applied whatsoever. So tamas. So tamas is the state of, tell me, 3 qualities. Number 1,
Inertia,
start from the beginning. First one is
indolence,
indolence,
Ignorance.
ignorance,
Inertia.
inertia. Okay, remember the 3 I's. Indolence, ignorance, and inertia.
And what about indifference?
Indifference also. Indolence, indifference is the same. Same in the sense, because you're indifferent, you're not doing anything. Why are you not looking after your health? Why don't you go for a job? You're indifferent. You're indolent. So yes, you can say indifference also. You can put it separately or you can put it as part of indolence, whichever one you want. So, if you
I have a
look at-
question, Janki ji.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So a person who knows that he is stuck in that cycle, he's doing things that are not helping him. but he's still not doing anything about it. That is also tamas, in spite of knowing.
Yeah, because three qualities are there, right? There
Yeah.
is indolence.
It won't fall under anything else.
Yeah, there is ignorance, so he's not ignorant, but he's indolent. So therefore, it will still be tamas.
Okay. Okay.
Of course, remember when we talk about the three qualities by themselves, you're making a very broad generalization. It'll all become more specific soon. But first, you must understand the very base. So, lowest tamas. When we live in this darkness of ignorance, it leads us further into rajas. Rajas is, is different from tamas insofar as tamas is in inertia and indolence and ignorance. And as a consequence of it, it's okay, going on, chalti ka naam gaadi. जो हो रहा है उसको होने दो. Such people are generally peaceful. Peaceful not in the good sense in the way we use it, but peaceful in the sense of nothing much is happening in their life. But when they take one step forward, they arrive into rajas. Rajas is the state of desire, of agitation, of action. A rajasic person will not sit quietly. He has to jump up and do something. He cannot attend 1 hour of class without doing something else. He has to jump up and do something. Oh, I have this, I have that. This is all rajas. This has nothing to do with what work we have. Because we are disorganized, we need to do it in that 1 hour. Otherwise, why do you have to do it in that 1 hour? It's silly, right? You even hear it, it's silly. Oh, no, I have to get up. Why do you have to get up? I have to do this, I have to do that. But why haven't you done it before the hour? And why can't you do it after the hour? No. That kind of behavior is rajasic behavior. So why is it like that? Desire. Can't sit through 1 hour of class peacefully. Can't. Too many desires. Can't listen to one thing. Too many desires are playing. Desires. And because there's desire, there is huge agitation. And because there's agitation, that agitation propels this person into constantly doing something. Constantly they are involved in doing something because if they can't sit, and as a consequence of which they have to move and look very busy and look like they have to do something. All this is the result of raja. So avidya is tamas. Vikshepa. Vikshepa means agitation. It's rajas. Another way it's put in the Upanishads, it's called Rudaya Granthim. Rudaya Granthim means the knots of the heart. They're all caught up in the knots of the heart. This is really it's a beautiful usage. What are the knots of the heart? They are those things that will not allow us to proceed in life. They're tied up somewhere. For each one of us, it's different. Because our desires are different. So whatever our desires and attachments are, they have tied us. Hridaya Granthi. It's a knot. What is a knot? Something that doesn't allow free progress. Just stuck in some rigmarole. Like we studied yesterday. Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. Like it's Arudhya on the yantra, on the machine. And by Maya, it revolves round and round. Round and round. This is the state of rajas. We can all recognize this because we've seen it, we experience it. Rajas is relatively easy to understand. When a person goes further, he comes to the state of sattva. Sattva is the state of poise, of clarity, of beatitude, of efficiency. When we have stopped running around like a chicken without a head, and we stop and consider our actions, we become efficient, productive, achievers. Otherwise, see what happens in the state of rajas is you're so longing to do the action, nobody can stop you. Nobody can stop and say, does this action even make sense? Because there's so much impulse, there's so much rajas over there. You can't talk about it. So even when people come to do karma, you have to agree with what they say, because there's no way you can stop them. However foolish the action is, you can't stop it. If you stop it, you send people into tamas. So the teacher has to all the time moderate the knowledge to the person in front of him. And that's why it's always said, you listen to what your teacher tells you. Don't go about listening to what the teacher tells somebody else. But that advice is for somebody else. It's like saying, sitting in the doctor's cabin and listening to what the doctor is telling other patients. Don't do that, because that prescription may not be for you. You must know what is applicable to you and what is not. So, when there is so much rajas, so much impulse, so much longing to do the action, so much just seeing things from my point of view and my point of view alone, no knowledge can penetrate. It is stuck. That's the Hridaya Granth. That is why we could go to classes for years and years and years and make no progress. Because the knots of the heart are extremely harsh. Can't get through. But yesterday we studied. What do you do about them? What's the solution?
Morning study.
Morning study.
You can't study only with these knots. Nothing will go in.
Karma.
We'll try.
Karma. Do karma. With the beatings of karma, we become malleable enough for knowledge to go in. Knowledge is the only solution. There's no other solution. But that knowledge is not going in only. Because the Hridaya Granthi is so harsh. It's a block. It's like a traffic jam. The cars are not flowing. Only if the cars move will you reach the destination. But now there's a traffic jam. The car can't move. Then how are you going to reach? So first you have to sort out the traffic jam. Then knowledge can go in. Mr. Srinivasan has come up with one more idea about how to get us all to study. And no doubt he will tell it to you in due course. But, we find it difficult to study, and he has come up with an idea. And that's the great thing about us all studying together, because everybody can come up with an idea and maybe it will help everybody else. So it's a good thing, everybody just gets together and we all serve the community, we serve the world. We all can come up with good ideas of what to do. Many people say, I'd like to do karma, but tell me what to do. Like he found something to do, you find something to do. He will tell you his idea himself, but it is an idea derived from having to study together. I'm making it mysterious. No, okay, so I'll tell you the idea. He will give you the details later on. Basically, what he said is, let's form a WhatsApp group where anybody who wants to join joins, and all that happens in that WhatsApp group is you say over there, did I study in the morning or not? If you have studied half an hour between 4 and 6, you say yes. If you have not studied, you say no. Nobody's watching you. Okay, it is only for you to, we're not starting a totalitarian state where we are going to start watching whether you're studying or not. But it's just for you to take help of a certain principle. The nature of the mind is that it balks, it falls for the herd instinct, the peer pressure. This is the nature of the mind. Always bothered about peer pressure. So you can use this negative tendency of the mind for a productive end. But he will tell you what it is. Coming back, Sarthak. Oh, Sarthak is here today. Where is the word Hridaya Granthi from? It's from the Upanishad. Which Upanishad? I think it's Mundaka Upanishad. I'm not sure. I'll look it up.
Yeah, that question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In Bill Gates' case, the example you gave, why would we consider him tamasic as opposed to rajasic if he's doing the same actions?
Because inertia is tamas. Inertia means you continue to do the same thing unless acted upon by another force.
But then, wouldn't he be more because he's acting? He's not being made to act. He's just doing the same thing. He's caught up in his. I just thought that it would fit more into the rajasic his personality. That was the example I know. But if that was the kind of person, would we consider him rajasic or tamasic?
The rajasic and tamasic are based on intention.
Okay.
If he's merely repeating whatever he has been doing, this is tamasic. This is inertia. Therefore, tamasic.
Okay.
If he is like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, all that, then it becomes rajasic.
So if he's doing many different things and running around, as you said, then you're okay.
Getting very agitated and all the time there's desire, there's action, there's agitation. Further and further, not just what he has, but more and more. Then it will become rajas. And the same Bill Gates can become sattvic also. We'll come to him as a sattvic person. You can't look at Bill Gates and say whether he's tamasic, rajasic, or sattvic.
Yes, I would just thank you.
Janki ji, when we are doing things in a routine, there's so many things we do as a routine. All of that is also considered tamasic?
It depends on how you're doing the routine. If you're doing a routine in a way that you know what you're doing, for what purpose, where is it taking you, what is its connection to the higher goal, then this is sattvic.
So if we do without thinking,
if
then
it's part
tamasic.
of inertia.
Okay.
But always try to jump the gun, go step by step. Listen, the same thing can be sattva if it is associated with a higher goal. The same routine can be rajasic if it is associated. It's like these, what do you call them, all these MNC people and all. They have a very strong routine. They get up in the morning early, they leave for work by about 8 o'clock, they come back again at 9 o'clock or whatever it is, they come back. They have a very strong routine, but could be entirely rajasic because it's all like, when will I become CEO? It's all driven by that. Rajasic. Even tamasic people can have a routine. They get up in the morning and then they read the newspaper and then somebody gives them breakfast and then they have a little nap, whatever their routine is. But it's a routine. Tamasic. The routine doesn't make it one or the other. It is your thoughts that make it so. Is that clear?
Thank you. Yeah.
Janki, I have a question. Janki ji, I have a question in reference to Jyoti's previous question. She said, despite knowing if we are not able to change. So my question is that we had defined knowledge in one of the classes as that which changes you.
That which changes you.
That changes. I mean, that knowledge is only that which brings about a change. Otherwise, it's mere information. Did we define it that way? True knowledge is that which changes you.
I mean, okay, you could say that true knowledge is that which changes you. Okay, you can say that.
Okay, so
when you say defined, Omkar, now that you are attending, I believe, Thursday class, every word means something. The word define means something. The word define means that you have in that definition everything, every characteristic of that word, but that definition cannot equally be applied to something else. So it must have everything the word means and its distinguishing characteristics. Okay, that's what the word define means. If you don't have this kind of a statement, it's not a definition. It's an explanation, maybe. It's a meaning. It's not a definition.
Okay.
So, okay. So now you're saying in some class you heard that knowledge is that which changes you. Okay, I don't know. Maybe you heard it. So then what? What's the point?
So in that sense, just knowing is not being non-ignorant. I mean, you are still ignorant, although you know something, right? I mean, by the definition.
Yeah, even if you know it, you can still be ignorant. This thing has gone off again. Come back. You can know it and be ignorant, because ignorance is removed in 3 stages, as you all are aware. You know the 3 stages of ignorance? Number 1, you haven't heard of something. Number 2, you've heard of it, but you haven't understood it. And number 3, you've understood it, but you can't do it. So the 3 stages of ignorance. The first stage of ignorance, where you have not heard of it, the antidote to that is Shravana, listening. Listening involves reading, listening, getting exposed to that thing. The second stage, I have not understood it. The antidote to that is Manana. Manana is reflection. You may know something, but you have not reflected enough to understand. And the third stage is you have not become it. You haven't become that knowledge. Your life is not completely that knowledge. And that stage is the stage of Nididhyasana or meditation. So, before you come to Vedanta, maybe you've never heard of the self. So you listen and you heard of it. Then you've heard of it, but you haven't understood it. So you reflect upon it and you get some kind of comprehension of what is the grandeur of what we're talking about. Still have not experienced it. So meditation makes you experience it. Same thing, even if you take Switzerland. Okay, never heard of Switzerland. So Manana makes you hear of it. Then you think about it. So you understand some aspects of Swiss life, of whatever you heard. They have banking system which is neutral. The army is a professional army, a commercial army. You can, sort of fire Swiss soldiers. And what else do you know about Switzerland? They have beautiful mountains and
Best chocolates and milk.
what?
Best chocolates.
What?
Chocolates, best chocolates.
Best chocolates. Okay, all right, Deepa. Best chocolates, best cheese. And what else about Switzerland?
Watches.
So you've heard all this stuff about Switzerland. Now you can think about it and understand something about Swiss life. And they do the yodeling. Yodeling is Swiss, right? However they do it. So that which Kishore Kumar did somewhere. Some yodeling they do, part of that thing. And they live in the mountains. It's all very beautiful. And then what is that? Jungfrau and now you understand, you heard all this stuff, and then you think about it, you understand it. They have that revolving thing that goes up that mountain.
Cable car.
Cable car with a revolving one, goes round and round, you see the whole boat. Yeah. So you can, as you think about it, you'll understand all this stuff. Almost sounds like I'm doing a promotion for Switzerland over here. Now everybody says we must go to Switzerland. Even Desire has started. So now, when after you thought about it and the desire has started, then one day you will make your way to Switzerland. Then you'll actually experience that. Okay? Now, you knowing Switzerland is very different from you earlier hearing that there is a country, Switzerland. Secondly, thinking about it and understanding how beautiful it must be. And thirdly, going and experiencing it yourself. So, ignorance is in 3 stages. Omkar, ignorance is in 3 stages and is removed, therefore, in 3 stages. And when you remove only the first one, I haven't heard of it, that is Shravana. The second one requires Manana. And the third one, to be it, requires Nididhyasana. Means experience it in some way, whatever way you are experiencing it. Okay? Is that okay?
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Actually, Nididhyasana in this case is reflection, meditation altogether, or
In which case?
when you say Nididhyasana, is it reflection or meditation?
Nididhyasana literally is meditation, where you convert your knowledge into experience.
Oh,
Literally, in terms of the spiritual part, is spoken of in terms of the spiritual part, right? So you convert it to an experience. But if you're talking about it in terms of knowledge, then Nididhyasana would be like a much deeper sense of reflection, where you become that knowledge.
oh.
What is this? Sarthak. Why are we measuring growth by outer circumstances? It could be inner too. Who is measuring by outer circumstances? Where on earth did we measure anything by outer circumstances? I mean, maybe Bill Gates could be doing the same thing over and over and still be growing. Why is it tamasic? I think we covered that, isn't it? Now, what happened here? We covered that already. I mean, inner growth in the sense of reading books, traveling, or doing Shravana Manana. Maybe he's spending his time in that. Why? Which is why he doesn't seem to grow from outside. I don't understand, Sarkar. You may be reading books, traveling, or doing Shravana and Manana, and maybe not growing. Even just because you're spending time in that doesn't mean anything. You don't see. Why would you not seem to grow? If you are growing, of course you'll seem to grow. Even the idiots around you can tell you have grown. If you're doing it right, which begins by listening carefully to what is being said. Nobody is using an outside thing. We did, no? Bill Gates could be tamasic, could be rajasic, could be sattvic also. There's no reason to assume he's not sattvic because he runs a multi-billion-dollar business. To run a multi-billion-dollar business, you often need many of the qualities of sattva, such as objectivity. You try doing something that one signature of yours is going to make a loss or a gain of $1 billion. Can you even sign that thing? It needs objectivity to be running those kind of things. It's big because if your gains are big, your losses can also be that big. So always something for us to understand that. Yes, I did say doing something again and again might be inertia. Yes, correct. That's correct. Doing it again and again may be inertia. Also, I explained, I don't know why doesn't anyone listen. The same routine could be tamasic, could be rajasic, could be sattvic. Go back and listen again, Sarthak. Where you went off? So rajas is the blocks of your heart which don't allow knowledge to come in. The Hridaya Grani. It is stuck. It's like a traffic jam. Nobody can break through that. It's like a hard shell that gets formed on us because we are so desire-driven about something. And no matter how much you expose yourself to knowledge under those conditions, that particular thing doesn't crack because like a hard coconut shell, it's not cracking. That's why people don't even listen in class, because You can only listen to that which are available to listen to. Which is why the fact that it's wonderful how you people are getting together and doing the flow of thought. It's forcing through that track. So you're forcing yourself to hear something which in a normal course of events you would not have heard. So it's wonderful that y'all are doing that and y'all are continuing to do it. And it's great. For me, thank you. Yes, I know we stopped with Switzerland, but we finished with it. So that was Omkar's question. He said he was fine. So it's over. You're fine, right, Omkar? Unless you have a problem.
No, I'm fine. Thank you so much.
Kumutini, you have a question on that? We stopped with it because it was over. So, Rajas is where we had sort of gone off. Is Rajas is the Hridaya Granthi, is the desire, is the agitation, the stress. You look at these MNC guys, why are they so stressed? Is it necessary that you have to work in MNC and be stressed? That stress is coming from the Rajas content. There are many people who work in the MNCs and are not stressed. That ability to not be stressed, no matter what is happening, is that things can stress us only to the extent that there is Rajas within. Otherwise, they don't have the capacity. A beautiful Mumbai monsoon is on, and I'm sure you can all hear it.
How beautiful. My God, we can hear it.
Yes. Perfect Mumbai monsoon. Of course, that means no stuff, but it's part of the perfect monsoon. So
no pakoras.
What? No pakoras. Yeah, no pakoras also. No stuff, no pakoras. These two things go together. And then once you are established in sattva, the whole thing can be whatever it is. It doesn't matter because you are peaceful. Now you're peaceful not in the way the tamasic guy was. He was peaceful because he couldn't care less. The sattvic person cares a lot and he's still peaceful. That's what's so tough for us to get. He cares a lot because he's a loving soul. But he's still peaceful. And that peace is something worth working for. And you won't get it if you don't work for it. You'll get it only to the extent you work for it. If you already have it, it's because you've done the work in the past. But if you don't have it and you want it now, then you'll only get it with work. Get down to the work. Attending class is not the work. I know people sleep in the class, but we don't necessarily need to even see this happening. Okay. So, tamas is the state of indolence, ignorance, inertia. Rajas is the state of desire, agitation, action. Sattva is the state of poise, equanimity, clarity, happiness. Now, you don't see a sattvic person acting. That's why we don't call it the state of action. But the sattvic person is the one who has the maximum action. But his action is so perfect, you don't really get to see it. It appears effortless. But it is the highest action that he is doing. Just as imagine a person is sitting in meditation. It's the highest action, right? But it appears like inaction. Imagine Einstein sitting at his desk. Okay, he's working out. He's not moving, he's just sitting there. He's working out in his head the theory of relativity. His wife pops into the room to look at him. Or not his wife was a smart lady, but let's say the maid pops into the room, looks at him, and goes and tells his wife, "Saab kuch baithe hai, kuch kar nahi rahe." From her point of view, he's doing nothing. And the neighbor's house, the other man, is working very hard. He's doing carpentry and he's doing this and that. He say, "Oh, saab dekho kitna kam karte hain." So the sattvic person may not be recognized to be doing work because his work or her work is effort. That's why it's not called work, but it's the highest work. It's the highest effort. It's immense effort, but it's not bubbling over. Okay, so this is tamas, rajas, and sattva. This is what we have to understand. Now, what he did is, if he broke up human activity into this, so that we may clearly understand where we are faltering. And we should be very thankful for this portion because we can really understand where exactly we are faltering. Because we may, say, okay, we are rajasic people. But that's not really helping us. What exactly is it that we are not doing? So this is a very important portion for self-analysis. And it's highly recommended that you use it for that purpose. Each one make, like we're going to do the personality chart. So we'll have knowledge. So we'll have sattvic knowledge, rajasic knowledge, tamasic knowledge. Then give yourself points on 10. Okay? Or 100, whatever. And then in the end, you can make your chart. Say so much sattvic knowledge. Say 20% sattvic knowledge. 70% rajasic knowledge. 10% tamasic knowledge, whatever. Then you add. And then you will know at the end how much tamas, how much rajas, how much sattva you have within yourself. And you know, therefore, which area you need to sort of take some specific action. Are you being too desirable? Are you being too indolent? Which specific area do you need to pay attention? Okay, so let's start. Who will read?
I can read.
Please do.
These temperaments, gunas, combined in different proportions, account for the variety of individuals in the world. The role of a human in his lifetime is to gradually rise from tamas to rajas to sattva and reach trans-sattva, wherein lies the Supreme Self, the ultimate spiritual enlightenment. To develop the personality and attain the transcendental experience, you need to study and analyze these gunas thoroughly. Ascertain the nature of the gunas inherent in you and how they manifest in different facets of your personality. You will then realize what is well and what needs attention, correction. So it says that we need to rise gradually during our lifetime from tamas to rajas to sattva and reach trans sattva, wherein we are beyond any of the gunas. So we need to study and analyze these gunas to understand what is inherent in us. So we know where we need to correct, what we need to correct within us.
And what is well also.
And what is well, yeah.
And first point was, you did points 2 and 3. What was the first point?
That they are combined in different proportions. And that makes the whole variety of people in the world.
Correct.
Different combinations of gunas.
That's right. So everybody has all three in different combinations. And that's why we are all different from each other. Every part is different because different ratios of these same three things. But everyone has all three. And wherever we see tamas, we must convert it to rajas. Wherever we see rajas, we must convert it to sattva. Sorry?
एक मिनट आओ.
Sheetal, what are you saying? Wherever everybody has all the three gunas in different proportions, therefore we are all different. Point 1. Point 2. Wherever you see tamas, make it rajas. Wherever you see rajas, make it sattva. Don't try to jump from tamas to sattva. It doesn't work that way. Wherever there is rajas, wherever there is tamas, we make it rajas. Wherever there is rajas, we make it sattva. Wherever there is sattva, you push it to trans sattva. Okay? Because eventually you have to make it all sattva and then leave sattva and go to trans sattva, which is self-realization. Now, when we study this, we will know which area we need this correction and which area is okay, it's fine, just continue. Okay? So that's why we are studying. Who will read the next paragraph?
I'll be telling.
Please.
For this purpose, the Bhagavad Gita has classified action and renunciation under the three gunas. Furthermore, action itself has been dissected into its constituents as knowledge, actor, intellect, steadfastness, and there are three gradations defined. Towards the end, happiness and renunciation have also been classified under the three categories. Thus, the grades of sattva, rajas, and tamas have been projected on all these facets of a human being. An analysis which enables you to define the exact nature of your personality. It holds a mirror to your inner quality and character. Your nature clearly defined, you can administer corrective measures where there are faults and rise gradually to the trans-sattvic state. To summarize this,
is there some difference in the books in these editions now?
Yes, ma'am. There is. I was reading and I.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, mine is totally different.
Mine is not totally different, but I have to, when they start reading, the paras are a little here and there, yes. And the actual words also.
Mine is.
So, compare my chart, but it's a little different to this. It's just in different places, but more or less the same information.
Okay,
so page, like mine is page 163. I don't know what page anybody else is on.
The new book is 156, where I read from.
131.
131.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You summarize. Let us. Let's play this by the year. Okay, Kinnari, you summarize what you just read.
The Bhagavad Gita has classified action and renunciation under the three gunas. The grades of sattva, rajas, and tamas have been projected on all the facets of a human being. This helps to analyze your exact nature. Thus, you can take corrective measures where required and rise gradually to trans-sattvic state.
Okay. So now we can read this, prepare your chart. Somebody please read this, prepare your chart.
I don't have prepare your chart.
Yeah, so we just read it from what's on our screen.
End of the chapter.
Come on, who's reading it?
Yeah, I will read.
I'll read, Jan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Prepare your chart. The above classification of different facets of action and renunciation provides the material for assessing your personality. Take up each one of them, study it carefully, try to match it with your nature. Thus, comparing each one of them with your nature, you may draw your personality chart and estimate the quality of knowledge you possess. Sattvic, Rajasic, or Tamasic. The quality of action you execute, the type of actor you are, etc. All of them examined together present a clear picture of your personality. The areas where sattva prevails, where rajas flourishes, and where tamas lingers. This should be of considerable help to locate the areas of your strength and weaknesses and administer corrective measures for the development of your personality.
Okay.
This, to summarize, the chart preparation involves studying each facet of our action carefully in relation to the qualities or the 7 items given, or 7 types of given here, and then to gauge or to assess the quality of the knowledge we possess, whether it is sattva.
I just can't hear what you're saying.
Oh, sorry. And estimate the quality of knowledge we possess. Are you able to hear, Gantiji? You are able to hear me?
Not very well.
Okay, then.
Can you put that back, Omkar? Omkar, you are Satsang host, right? Yeah. Because now people don't have this, right? So keep it here. Okay, so I can't really hear you, but I hope everybody else has. There is basically the chart analyzes every facet of action and renunciation. And they divided it into 7 parts. And from it, you can find out where there is sattva, where there is rajas, and where there is tamas, so that you can find your strength and weakness, and therefore do something about it, obviously. Okay, so I don't know if Mr. Srinivasan, you said that, but if you did, then that was correct. So who will read the next paragraph?
I'll read the next one.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, Simran, go ahead.
Jankiti, it is on page 137 on the old book.
157. No, it's not.
137. 37. 137.
Okay, that has come. Oh, I see. All right. Okay, thank you. So 137 in the old book. So 138 now. Human beings fall between 0. So all it's done basically is this place of this thing has moved. Okay, so who will read this? Were you reading it, Harsimran?
Sure, I'll read it. Human beings fall between 0 and 100% development. 0% would be like an inert object. 100% would be a self-realized soul. Hence, the entire range of people fall between the 2 extremities. It becomes rather difficult, if not impossible, to clearly define one's personality. The personality chart would therefore serve as a yardstick to measure your spiritual status and program your evolution. So to summarize, what this would mean is that we can't look at human personalities as black and white. It would be a combination of multiple facets, and the only way to establish where we stand vis-a-vis all those facets is to have a personality chart, which you just spoke of, and then you pick up one facet, one aspect at a time, and try to move on to the higher from tamasic to rajasic to sattvic. You pick the higher form of it.
Very good. Except that I would not use the word only if I were you. Don't say this is the only way. Here is a way. Whether there are other ways or not, nobody is making a comment on that.
Sure.
One of the things that philosophy teaches us is every word that we say matters, and therefore say what you mean and mean what you say. It's a training of thinking, in fact, that you said no more than you meant, and you meant no more than you said. So yes, good, Harsimran. Now let's, except for the word only. So now we'll read the next one. Reshma, were you reading?
Yeah. Intellect, buddhi. Sattvic intellect is that which clearly distinguishes between the paths of action and renunciation, chooses that field of activity which is most suitable to one's inherent nature, and rejects what is not. Having chosen the right field, it further decides what ought to be done and what ought not to be done therein, and does one's obligatory duties and responsibilities in life. The Sattvic intellect directs you to fulfill them and avoid involvement in activity outside this sphere. A human being alone faces the problem of choosing his course of action in life. No creature save the human has this dilemma. All others follow distinct patterns of life according to their individual nature, ordered as it were to live through it without a choice, whereas the human being has been given the freedom of choice. William Shakespeare, in his play Hamlet, highlights the dilemma of choice in his oft quoted words: to be or not to be, that is the question. The Sattvic intellect has the clarity to choose one's course of life. So this paragraph is telling us about the qualities that come with being Sattvic. It basically helps us to use the intellect, which is a choice, to do whatever we do in life. And this choice has been given only to human beings. And if we apply it, we will make all the right choices, and thereby that will help us to do the right action and lead the correct type of life.
Good. So Sattvic intellect, firstly, is that which tells you the difference between action and renunciation. Means what you should do and what you should not do. So first thing that you should do is take up a field of activity, which is choose your own swata. And then having chosen the field of activity, you choose the actions in that field. And it is only the int that enables you to do this. Only humans have the intellect, so they are the only ones who need to make the choice. Everybody else, all the other creatures, just do it. They don't have an intellect. Therefore, they don't have a choice. Choice and intellect go together. So no intellect, no choice. No choice, no intellect. But we have both. Means you have to have both. And therefore, we need a sattvic. So the first thing the sattvic buddhi does is tell the difference between. Buddhi is that which tells the difference. So the first difference it can tell is what should be done and what should not be done. First choice. Either in choose of a field or in the choice of the action itself. We'll study it more next time. So that's it. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om
Janki ji. Hari Om Janki ji. Thank you so much.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you so much.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janki.
Hari Om.
Thank you very much.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Hari Om.